Lights, camera, action. And here we are. It's another installment of Sages, where we engage those fine brains, those luminaries who have been there, done that. They have lived. And we come, sit at their feet, at their shrine, if you like, and tap into their age-old wisdom and their experiences and their insights into what life is all about and what all of us as a country can learn. And that is why today I'm here in the home. We have the privilege of being here in the home of a man who is knocking on 90's door. He's knocking on 90's door. He is a health and wellness expert, if you like. He writes on it. He has a column in the Ghanaian Times. But beyond that, he also is an accomplished medical practitioner. He's a poet and essayist, which is interesting, right, for someone in the sciences. He's a retired surgeon. He has practiced in Ghana, in Zambia, and in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure the Odadiers and the boys in green would both claim him because he's a product of Presec and St. Augustine's. But beyond that, he is a patriot. This beautiful day, we're here having an engagement with none other than the man of the moment, Professor Ladé Wosornu. Good to see you, Prof.
Thank you very much.
In fact, I think this deserves a handshake.
Thank you.
Should I call you Togbi?
Shikpito.
Shikpito?
Yes.
Okay.
Shikpito.
What's the meaning of that?
Senche Nijase in Ghana.
Oh, okay. I love your beads, by the way.
Thank you very much indeed. It's handed down by the family.
Wow. Anyway, and I was just, teasing him. This is not my first interaction with Professor Ladé Wosornu, and he's ageless, evergreen. Every time you see him, he looks exactly this way. I was asking what his secret was for someone pushing 90. But here we are, sitting at your feet. And let me also mention that he is a fellow of the Ghana College of Surgeons and formerly member of the National Council for Higher Education. And of course, he is also a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences as well. I think it's only fitting that as we come and sit at your feet, we also find out, how did it start? Where were you born? What kind of early beginnings did you have on planet Earth?
Thank you very much for this honor and this privilege to be numbered among the few whose records we are documenting. To be called a sage is really very awe-inspiring. And to what extent I can measure up to that expectation, I do not know, but I leave others to judge. I was born in a village called Galo, Sota, at the moment in the South Tongue area, in the Volta region. That's where my mother came from, or I should say my mother comes from, and my father from a village called Zobova, also in the South Tongue area. That's where I was born. We went to school at that down 4, up to standard 7, and then from there to Presec, then from Presec to St. Augustine's, and then from St. Augustine's for the 6th form to Glasgow for university and beyond. Thank you very much.
I see. And humble beginnings, of
yes.
course. Was Presec always a dream for you? Was it a place you had heard of, wanted to go to back then?
Yes. Actually, when you were in the Adan, the Adan 4 Presbyterian Boys Boarding School, we are all Presbyterians, and we of course wanted to go to Presec or the other Presbyterian at Prempeh or the Enho and so on. But the one that Odumase was what I would particularly wanted to go to, and I was fortunate that I was accepted there. While I was waiting for the result to come through, I took an exam for the Akropong Teachers Training College,
right,
just in case I did not get the required scholarship to go to Presec. But that is history.
Okay, so that was Odumase.
The original Presec. the ancient Presec.
The ancient Presec.
Yeah, the ones
before the move happened.
Yes, before the wonderful setup now we have already gone. It's truly wonderful. Yeah.
I feel slightly slighted, and here's why. I'm wondering whether at the time you didn't contemplate heading to Bando and going on the hill to Bishop Herman, my alma mater. I feel slightly slighted about why you did not think of coming to the beacon of knowledge, Bishop Herman College.
Well, we were in Adan, and at that time we had to the Ghanaian language we studied before. Oh, I'm talking about prehistoric times, so
right.
This 1940.
Oh, okay. So this was
it wasn't yesterday.
Right.
It wasn't yesterday.
Right.
Thank you.
It was even before then, and then from there you went to St. Augustine's.
Yes.
Right. And what was it like, in these two institutions in terms of how they helped shape you into the person you've become?
Oh, before we get there, let's stay in the elementary school for a few minutes. I'd like it to be remembered that in the elementary school, that is in the village where I started from, a man came there who was on a sick leave. I believe he must have had tuberculosis. So he founded the school on his sick leave, and there we started. And then my uncle, we had to go only to class 3, and then to go to class 4 and to stand 7, we had to go someplace else. And the choice was whether to go to Kata or to Adan 4. We so happened that my uncle, his wife was a lady from Adan, so that's how we ended up going to Adan. It was more difficult, but it was more challenging and amazingly prophetic. That's how I happened to learn or to speak a number of Ghanaian languages, which I'm bugging you with a little bit when your team arrived. Right. And then when I was in the secondary school, there's one experience I like everybody to remember, and that was how one was made the senior prefect at a very early age. I was 14 in 1951 at that time. And the youngest is so smallest and so on, but by grace, I was the senior prefect. And I became power drunk.
You became power drunk?
Yes.
You admit that?
I admit that. Looking back on it, if I had a chance, I would have a chance to show the pictures of Adan, what made you power drunk. Because there was this tree, which was an almighty tree. Whenever the senior prefect rang a bell, the whole school would assemble there. So I had the first term, you ring the bell, and the whole place would become crowded. From stand 4, stand 5, stand 6, even stand 7 boys came up. That happened the first term. The second term, the numbers started falling. The third term, nobody minded me when I rang the bell. That was how getting power drunk, and I get disgraced by being power drunk. So bear that in mind, please. Thank you very much indeed. So I remembered that when I went to Form 5, the same thing happened. I took care not to repeat that mistake.
Were you a senior prefect?
Yes,
again?
in Form 5.
I see.
In the Dumasi.
And that taught you lessons?
Oh yes, painful lessons.
But lessons that shaped you for the better?
Yes, most definitely yes.
We've spoken about your academics. Even before we talk about how you became this, how would I put it, this powerhouse in both the sciences and also in literature, if you want to put it that way, verse to be specific. What kind of family did you grow up in? Was it a very academic family? Was it natural for you to become what you became?
Well, we're talking about 1937, so that wasn't yesterday. And in our family, my parents were illiterate at that time. But my mother, she was a very powerful singer of Akbalu and a powerful dancer of the Akbalu, a great organizer with a fantastic memory. She was a trader, actually an entrepreneur, and she remembered the names of all her clients. They came from everywhere, from Kumasi, from Adan, and so on to Accra. And she remembered tying the bits of change on that tube. She said, oh, this for Kofi Dada, haya amatonya, haya kokotonya, haya metonya, esoga shilabakatongi. She remember all of them with a fantastic recall. If I share them, an astonishingly deep memory. That obviously is, well, excuse me, is in the genes. So by the grace of God, one inherited a part of that.
I was just about to say you had taken that yourself.
By the grace of God. So that was from the parental side. In pre-sec, we were taught by trained teachers. They were all trained at Akropong Training College. So they were very methodical in their approach. Mathematics was presented as a work of art.
Wow.
Arithmetic must be done in the center of the page. Normal channels, the margins must be the same. Nyako is the name of the teacher. He was very particular about appearances and neatness. Jones, the teacher of physics, was equally methodical. And he was insisting that you understand the theory and understand it beautifully, commit nothing to memory, reason it all out. And that is how we are taught. Those are by the teachers. Then the headmaster, Clufew by name, he was insistent that our language must be meticulous. We have to be phonetically accurate. He just returned from Oxford with the phonetics must be good and almost like Oxford English. Excuse me, please. That was what it was in those days. And of course, we did literature and we did it beautifully and so on. And one other thing the group must remember, be obedient to your parents. Obedience was what assisted. There was this time when my mother asked me to accompany my cousin in Accra. He had to go and queue up for a job at the labor center. The first day I went, I had to be there walk from Kanishi to where this center is. The second day I took with me Macbeth, and while he was queuing up, I went to the beach and read it aloud to the waves. And unintendedly, without intending it, I committed to memory. When I went back to school, that I was reasonably, but because I just obeyed my mother's commandment, take your cousin to go and queue. I could have said, no, I don't want to do that. He didn't go to school, that's sure I do that, but I didn't disobey. So you have to learn to be obedient to your parents, please. I found it very helpful.
You did find it helpful. So let's go back to the sciences.
Okay.
You talk about the arithmetic and everything. Everything was methodical. And when you spoke about phonetics, I mean, something that is sorely lacking now. We speak English, yes, but what kind and what grammatical, cocktails we form, that's another thing altogether. But let's go back to the sciences. For someone so well established in verse, you have a lot of collections of poems, among others. Usually they say those in the sciences are not so gifted in literary matters. You are one of the exceptions. How did this affinity, this bond, when it comes to science, develop?
May I make a suggestion, please? That convenient label, the convenient drawing of boundary lines, on the right are the scientific group, on the left are the art group, please. It is fake.
It is, huh?
It's just a plea that if they could be made to blend, it would be helpful for everybody.
I think before you proceed, that is what we are hoping for. That's where we are heading. That's why now we don't talk of just STEM, we talk of STEAM.
Do we?
STEM,
do we?
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But now people talk of STEAM.
Yes.
Science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Yes.
So that there's that blend. But
yes,
by and large, when you look at it, sometimes people stay on the extremes. I have friends, though, who are scientific, who still dabble in the arts, who write.
Dabble?
And do many great things.
It's more than dabbling, you don't mind, Mr. Interrogator. It's a passion. It is a passion.
Right.
But when you have that as a passion, if there's time, I can show you the evidence of what I mean by that, by showing how one would jot things down in diary after diary after diary. that will come to that later on.
Okay, so let's get into how you came to fall in love with science.
It was the natural thing for me because when I was young, almost like a child, the story was that I wanted even to start dissecting frogs. Oh, would you believe that? And I saw in a village at that time, elephantiasis and was a very common condition, and chronic leg ulcers were very common. So one day I asked my mother, why can't you just cut a bit of skin here and put it on that ulcer? It should make it heal. So he said, where did you get that idea from? I said, I don't know, but I think it will work. Apparently I was talking about skin grafting even before I went to school. So that trend is, my father was, as I mentioned earlier, he was a herbalist and a very serious one at that. So medicine was, part of the one's upbringing. So that was how it happened, that in Presec I was in a science stream from the very beginning, in a science stream, and continued like that in St. Augustine's and beyond.
Would you say that part of it then came from your DNA, that it was innate, you came with it?
I suppose so. I suppose so. It was, I was comfortable in that stream, and I was comfortable that you're going to be a doctor. I know that I was going to become a doctor. So to do that, I have to do the sciences, full stop.
And your pursuit of science led you to the doorstep of medicine, and you went to faraway Glasgow. Why Glasgow?
Remember the word Glasgow, and remember that destiny plays a very important part in our lives. There I was at the interview, and I think Dr. Akwe is the name of the director of the health at that time, who was chairperson of the examiners. At the end of it, when I was selected, he said, Wosornu, you have got this distinction now, thanks to the Ghana government, but all the good schools have been taken, Oxford, Cambridge, London, Edinburgh, St. Andrews, even Aberdeen, they're all gone. Only Glasgow remains. I said, Glasgow, sir? It's perfectly all right, sir. I don't mind going to Glasgow at all, sir. So really? Yes. Deal. Sorry, they used the word deal at that time. So granted, you are now going to Glasgow. All right. That was 1957 for the interview. I was there in 1958. All that I was taught, especially by in Presec, by the teachers of mathematics and science, came in very handy. Imagine what has happened. I was having to take the exams with those who are repeating, who failed level 100, the Scottish boys and girls. Right. At that time, the Glasgow University, even if a BSc from Ghana, you have to go to level 100. BSc in biochemistry, BSc in whatever it was.
Right.
You still have to go to level 100. Would you believe that?
To sort of start afresh.
But it was an insult, really. It was an insult.
It was almost as though they were questioning your abilities.
Yes. No, because it was a Cambridge document we took there. But because we were from Africa, from Ghana, they questioned our natural ability. But in my time, 1958, they made an exception. Remember that one. When I was in the fourth year, remember Glasgow, I had my second attack of blindness, and I was admitted in the special ward of the ophthalmologist, the professor. 20 years later, I had the recurrence of this blindness. At that time, one was moving from Dublin, stop over in Glasgow, to go to Stockholm for interview. I was in Saudi Arabia at that time. In mid-air, had the recurrence of the blindness. So when the craft stopped at Glasgow Airport, I told them, please take me straight to Western Infirmary, to the eye ward. When I got there, the professor came and said, Ladé, welcome home. We shall look after you.
How did that make you feel? Reassured?
Reassured? I was overwhelmed with wonder, could happen anywhere. Could happen in Dublin. Could happen when you were in Stockholm. But happened in midair between Dublin and Glasgow. So when they landed, it took me there. Remember that, yes. Please.
But how did you feel when that happened mid-air? I mean, did you feel lost?
No. I was in the team of the dean of the College of Medicine in Saudi Arabia, and we are going to do interviewing, selecting new staff for the medical school. So I was then on business for the university. So when this happened, the dean took care of me. I was taken to Glasgow, and I was received like, someone who they know very well.
I see.
Yes.
Of course, that must have, kept you from maybe freaking out, as we would put it. But my curiosity, you say this was the second time. What was the first time, and what was causing this blindness?
This is the point again where nature comes in, faith comes in, destiny comes in. Part of my obedience to my mother and was that she had a cat, and this cat was very particular. It would go to nobody else apart from Ladé. So whenever I came on a vacation, to come and sit on my lap, and you eat from my plate, when I give the plate and so on. So when I had this first attack, it was in third year student in the pre-sec. I arrived home, no, I was sent home blind. So I said, I cannot see. So he said, Doji, be brave. And so I overcame that first attack. It's called chorioretinitis, inflammation of the eye, including the retina. So I missed one whole term in the third year, but I recovered sight. So that was the first attack. Second attack was in Glasgow, a fourth year medical student. The third attack was when I was a teacher in Saudi Arabia. But
wow.
By the grace of God, I've not had any further attacks. It came from the cat.
It did?
Yes. It was a parasitic infection. But they were able to find that in Glasgow. So they didn't understand what it was, of course. So they researched it, and the registrar came one day and said, excuse us, but were you once upon a time very familiar with some pets in your house? So, oh yes, a cat. So, yes, we've got it. That was how they got the diagnosis.
Wow.
Yes.
So then again, you have to be careful. I mean, love the pets, but you have to ensure that everything is in order before you end up with a parasitic infection. That's quite a story.
It's not like that. It's not like that. You can never predict.
No, you can't.
You can never predict.
I mean, I love pets. You get it. But then again, like you're saying, you can't tell.
Cannot predict.
And sometimes, if it was probably a stroke of fortune that this surgeon or this medical professional sought to inquire into that. If not, they would have probably been in limbo, trying remedies that may not necessarily have worked for you. And since that time, you've had it only once while you were lecturing. So let's then talk about, so you got your medical degree from Glasgow.
Correct.
And after Glasgow, what happened?
During Glasgow, there were individuals posted to remind me of what I was there for, the mission, the unknown mission. So if you have a chance to have someone advising you, you are here to do this, better believe the person, especially if it's the senior person. Nani Hodanu was posted there to wait for me. I'm talking about destiny now. So he told me, you are here to win the medal. I said, what, who? So he explained that this is the medal, the Brunton Memorial Prize, and so on. So he was there to supervise that, physically supervise that. There's another young man, is a Scottish young man, Brent Habig. He was also posted to make sure that when I missed the turning, he brought me right back to the beginning again. So your mission is accomplished. You can turn your back and flee if you're a coward, or stick up your chest and come and fight if you're brave. It was like that.
And you decided to stick out your chest, fight,
well,
and like Paul,
well,
win the prize?
Well, it was more complicated than that. It wasn't that I decided to do that, but it was happened in the spring. By the autumn, information emerged that really had apparently failed by a fraction, and that it was nothing to do with my color. So it was not too difficult to come back into the race and then try to take to the end. Thank you.
You've also had a stint in quality management
yes.
and all of that. Let's fuse that into surgery, but let's focus on quality management for a moment.
Again, this is the way nature works, or this is the way you need to have to believe that there's something out there called your destiny. You have to believe that. My very transition from, I use that word advisedly, that is simply moving from one place to the other, not moving from life to death. From Ghana to Zambia, from Zambia to Saudi Arabia, and so on, was all written before I was born. I'm sure about that. So I have to believe in destiny. So there I was at the end of my active spell as a chairperson of the Department of Surgery in that university. We had an exam, and I supervised the conduct of the exam and supervised the preparation of the report, and I gave it to the secretary of the committee to take over. But the chairperson at that time, who has replaced me, wanted to throw his weight around a little bit. I think he was a little bit power drunk. So he said I should do that legwork. So I told him, I'm so sorry, I will not do that, but because that is not my job. But if you insist, please give me my passport back. I'll say, bye-bye, we'll see you. So I went straight to the office of the president and told him, I'm out of this place. I cannot work any longer, I'm sorry, with this particular young man, because he's a little bit disrespectful. You must know your value. You must know your value, okay? So when that happened, he said, very good, come and work with me. I was invited, come up higher to work with the president of the university and be the office of quality management. That's how it happened. Establish it and make it work.
Establish it and make it work. So let's come back to the sciences. Becoming a surgeon, I mean, after this you practiced surgery in many different ways. You even taught surgery in Saudi Arabia and others.
In Ghana also.
What aspects of surgery did you, should I say, focus on more?
I'm a general surgeon.
General surgeon?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a general surgeon. The original temptation, no, not temptation, the original idea was I was going to be a gynecologist.
Okay.
And then the chairperson of gynecology in Glasgow at that time, he was grooming me to come to him so he can get me on the straight path. But I told him, I'm so sorry, I want to be a general surgeon rather than a field that only Obigani. So he said, fair enough, yes.
In your experience in surgery, what has it been like? They say that surgeons get to play God sometimes. Sometimes you get to see things. You in a way, of course, you are not God, but you do things that with the help of God, saves lives. Do you remember any such situations you'd like to share?
Yes. Yes. There was one such incident which must be documented and proclaimed. You need someone who you can work with seamlessly. And in my particular case, it was Edu Jemfi, or it is Professor Edu Jemfi. We were in Saudi Arabia together. He is an anesthesiologist, now with a general surgeon. I was asked to do a particular case, and it was a referral case. So because it was a complex case, I asked for a team to put together, other consultants to be with me so they can do this thing. Like person came from Kumasi to Accra because of this big swelling. By the time it came, all the other consultants who have been agreed to come have some excuse or the other, and they stayed away. because they knew there was going to be a disaster in there. So Edu Jenfi told me with the turbo, with the menstrual, I'm going to bring the blood pressure down as low as possible. I'll do the anesthesia myself, no instruments. I use my hand to anesthetize the patient and to ventilate the patient. This is how I be here. That's home. So the only he was doing this during the time when I opened the abdomen. You know what I said? Mama, I'm ready me here, nyongo, hear me. Then the voice came. So here, Gavon, but forget everything that you have learned as a surgeon and follow what I'm telling you.
Don't be afraid. Forget what you've learned as a surgeon.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I forgot everything. Instead of cutting straight, I went to curves. And at the same time, the Jeffy used his hand and pressed on the balloon, the bag, the ventilation bag. And at that moment, the tumor came out in a bloodless field. And
the tumor came out in a bloodless field.
Yeah, and the swelling came. It was a cyst, a huge cyst.
I see.
Yes.
And when all was said and done, the patient recovered. What is the feeling like?
Again, it's very humbling. You know that you did not do this yourself. Became very humbling. And by the way, those who have excused themselves were up there watching for disaster to occur, and also on camera. So they all walked away.
And God came through.
But God came through. It was nothing to do with me. God came through God.
You were a tool in God's hand.
But, well...
You remind me of the Ben Carson story as well.
Oh, I see.
And, you know...
All I know is that it was very humbling. Even now, when I remember it, I covered good flesh.
Wow. And this is just one of the ways God has used you. But beyond science, because if we want to focus on science alone, we'd spend the entire interview talking about science. Let's come to literature and drink from that fountain as well. How were you able to marry your work in the field of science and quality management, and then especially poetry, to the extent that you didn't even just focus on poetry? Of course, you are passionate about wellness, and you have a column in the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and you're constantly writing. How did you manage that?
You don't manage it. It's a donate. It's a given.
Gift. Right.
So, and when people say that they were inspired by X, Y, and Z, I tell them, well, good for you. But in my case, it comes unbidden. And if there's chance, I can show you the diaries which I was keeping. Because that was a gift I received from my guru, the Swami Krishnananda, who was a monk, a Buddhist monk. So he's told me that I should learn to study silence. In the domain of silence, that's when creativity actually flourishes. So I practiced silence, and I read and read and read, because that's what we were told to do in pre-sec. So it was it's not effort on my side. And I believe that it was Kofi Anyidoho, who said to me, as Ladé Wosornu, he is a poet who pretends to be a surgeon.
I see. And writing verse, how did it start? Do you remember the first time you wrote verse, the first time you penned a poem?
No, I can't remember the first time. I can't remember the first time. But of course, it's all there in my the diaries. They are available if you want to see them. They're available. But for example, there I was in Lusaka, walking in the autumn. In Lusaka, they have beautiful trees, that flower-bearing trees. So that they're walking on one of those avenues, and hearing the petals cracking under my foot. And that is what this poem emerged, called Petals. Just 4 lines. And if there's chance, I'll show it to you. Just 4 lines.
Let me examine one of your poems, one that you've become famous for, and then I shall check out Petals as well. This one, do you know which one? Can you guess?
Probably that's the Rivers, or the other one would be the Master Brewer.
The Master Brewer. And I read, there is a distillery in our brains. Its cane and malt, its hops and grains are the stuff our lives are made of. Blizzard and snow, bushfires or drought, matches won by penalty shootout, fortunes lost at the toss of a coin, over these and their likes. You are no doyen. The fuel for this distillery, your emotions. Willy-nilly, you stoke the fires as you vent your spleen. And another dram drip into the vat unseen. The master brewer is not the stars, not yet the gods. He is you, your very self. The final brew has no choice. It must be bitter bile or sweet honey. But you can choose the magic potion which can vouchsafe the taste, your intentions, your memories, and your reactions.
That is a clap for you, clap for you.
And that is the master brewer. It takes a master to brew, and it takes a master to pen a poem like this. What was going through your mind when you penned this poem?
I have no idea. I have no idea, and I would need to have a look at the date it was written and what was going on. But it's much very likely that one was going through some very testing times, and was thinking of how it might be that you may blame other people for what's happening to you, and also to know that your own influence on things is so minimal. You can only remember or plan what you intend to do. You can only decide how to stock your mind, what you choose to recall. And then you can only decide how to react. Only those three things are in your command. Nothing else. Nothing else. So, and that's how it came.
I see. I guess I'm still looking for your poem Petals. When I do find it, I shall read that as well. But in terms of your style of writing, I mean, we can talk about Desert Rivers, for example, your poetry collection. What was it? What went into it? What was the inspiration?
You mean, well, that particular poem is one of those, a number of things that happen like that. For example, the one called the Final Liberation happened at the airport when I was just waiting in the departure lounge, watching planes land and take off, and that's the Final Liberation emerged. And this particular one, the Desert River, or Desert Rivers, we were at Homowo in the house of my late wife, Vivian. And so it was at lunchtime, almost lunchtime. I didn't touch anything alcoholic, but I was at that time practicing vegetarianism anyway, and a complete teetotaler and all that. So I started mumbling, desert to have the rivers. And Tom, hold it right there, she was saying. Would you like to write something? Okay, men can go, Baba. I'll bring paper. So she brought the paper and wrote it down. And then when the last line came, if you cannot see our tears, does not mean we do not cry. And I zipped up. And everybody repeated that line. And that line stole the poem. And then I came to again. You're all done? I'm over. That was how it happened.
In fact, let me read that poem, Desert Rivers, by Professor Ladé Wosornu. Like you started, deserts too have their rivers.
Yes.
Entombed from birth in earth, waters mightier than vaulters, lie hid from glare of sun and winds that dry, roofed not by sky, but rocks that do not always hold. These run their unwitnessed course to their unwitnessed end. Without a sound, they gush into bowels of seas, far, far away from unaided human eyes. If you cannot see our tears, it does not mean we do not cry. And that is Desert Rivers by Ladé Wosornu. You're amazing, you know that. So I read your poems sometimes.
Oh,
and
thank you very much.
It's pretty interesting. But when you look at your literary journey, and then you look at how, you know, a lot of our literature has also come to depend on foreign elements. We seem to have lost a bit of the innate, the homegrown elements. How does that sit with you? Are we losing the plot in a way?
As you know, we have a group of professionals who are in the arts section, and for them, writing, creative writing is also the daily bread. But there are others, the other people to whom that particular group I belong, to whom writing poetry or getting published and so on is not our daily bread. It's a passion.
Right.
Now, so what influences that depends. It depends. I was told by my mentor, we come to mentors, I believe, soon, Kofi Awuno, and I regret that I didn't follow his advice or his instructions to the letter. Say, Ladé, write some of your poems in the Ebe. Don't forget. Magangloba was here. Unfortunately, Mangloba, I forgot. And I did not follow that. I regret it up to this day.
But there still is time.
Oh, thank you for your encouragement. Thank you very much. I hope so.
Right.
So, I'm talking about two different things now. Creative writing in the mother tongue and creative writing in the borrowed tongue in English. Two separate things. The one can be translated to the other, but it's not the same.
Right.
So that those who are creating it in the original, I clap for them. I wish I could do that, but I can't. I couldn't. As you are predicting, maybe it's not too late.
Maybe it's not.
You see.
Since we're talking about the literary arts, a lot of people look up to you as well, as you look up to others. The Kofi Awunos.
Yeah, and Anyido and all that.
If you could
and
speak
also
to...
I took your kind.
Indeed. If you could speak to the creatives in the literary space today, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them as they compete with other powerhouses when it comes to literature, not just in Africa, but across the world?
Oh, what can I say when this is not my profession? I do this, as I mentioned to you, because it's just a passion, and the words that come, the lines that come, are given, I donate. I do not say that I'm going to create this, create that. But if someone is going to that way inclined, I will ask you, please pursue it. Just upload whatever comes to you, but please let someone else see it. Don't sit on it. Share it with a colleague or an older person, so there can be a mentor who can look after it for you. In my case, I had this wonderful team of mentors led by Kofi Awuno. Kofi Awuno. Anyido was there, Achukwu was there, and so on. Mikaka Tuama, Ladiana Garama, and light the ring, so Ladé can also enter the ring. They were that welcoming. They were that welcoming. In this very place, with this veranda as the stage, that was where they first staged Ate, Woman of Africa. That's when it happened, all those years ago. They were all here, Anyido, Awuno, Atuke.
Wow.
At one dusk, they were all here. That was the collegial spirit that existed. That I'm sure it's still there, but in my case, it was overpowering. It was really humbling that those big shots made the time to be here for the reading of the poem of an unknown beginner.
That's rarefied territory right there, the names you're mentioning. But in terms of influence, what your legacy, I'm sure you must be proud, and many people do not know this, but you have passed on this gift to your seed. And I'm talking about Taye Selassie. For those of you who do not know, she's a major Ghanaian, not just Ghanaian, that's not her only nationality, but she's a major Ghanaian author. And one of her books I do remember, Ghana Must Go, all the way from 2013.
Yes.
I guess your daughter took it up. She took up the gift.
Yes, yes, that is correct. And when it comes to creativity in many ways, in terms of writing and books, so she may be the leader, but there are others who are creative in other fields. So that you don't want to mention that for the time being, if you don't mind, please.
You are a very humble man, very modest, but you've also made contributions on the global stage. What would you like to see change the most when it comes to the practice of medicine in Ghana, in both areas, in the literary field and in medicine, but especially in medicine? You're out there globally, you're known. What do you think should change to make Ghana better when it comes to the practice of medicine?
Oh, this is an area which makes me very sad. As you know, the provision of healthcare is an industry. There's the owner of the shop. In Ghana is the government. Then there are the practitioners, the doctors, and the nurses, and so on, who provide the service. Then there are the structures, the hospitals, which can be used, and the equipment, which can be used. And then there's the consumer, the patient. Unfortunately, cost elements are becoming so inhibiting, so that the poor and the marginalized and underprivileged are having a tough time accessing adequate health care. And I know that movements are afoot by the powers that be to establish, if you like, almost like facilities and donations and foundations and so on to help the poor. But it's not enough. And therefore, but unfortunately, dragging money out of the sick is as ancient as the hills. It is said in the Bible, poor woman spent all her fortune because she was having irregular periods, having menorrhagia for many years.
Until she touched the tassel of Jesus' cloak.
And she has this idea of spending one's fortune on healthcare continues up to today.
What can we do about it?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. You can try. Look at what's happened in America. What happened to Australia when they were trying to have healthcare to be on a national scale? It's falling in. What happened? Just name it.
I mean, the UK has had its own stint with
they have their own
problems,
problems. So we need to find a way. It's painful. It's very painful. So can it ever be corrected? I'm not so sure. But those who are poor, my heart goes out to them. When I don't want to be personal about this, some of us didn't want to take any money for payment from anybody. Our salary was enough for us, but that was then, and we are now different.
Now things are different.
Yes.
We're more self-seeking, you think?
That's not for me to say.
But as medical professionals, you take the Hippocratic Oath, right? To preserve life, to serve, to do your best to save life and all of that. Do you think we still hold on to that oath as much as you did back then?
There's a poem called Knave's Mistake. Only 5 lines. If you have a chance, I'll read that poem for you. Some of us realize that we're here to serve the patient before we even heard of Hippocrates. So serving the patient is what you are here for. But you have to go for other things. So I don't want to judge. All I'm saying is that it's not easy. Those who are underprivileged, who are not, any power is limited, they'll have a difficult time getting adequate health care. And of course, Galamsey is going to make things worse. Shall I say that again? Galamsey is going to make our healthcare worse. You will see it so many ways. And in a manner which is very distressing, poisoning from lead, poisoning from mercury, poisoning from other chemicals. All that is happening with Galamsey. And the only way to stop that one is stop when the patient is bleeding or have a complex of a surgical condition, that's a road traffic accident or a war. The bones can be broken, the skull can be crushed open. But when it's bleeding, the first thing to do, next to making sure it's breathing, stop the bleeding. So stop galamsey. Otherwise, the present and the future are disastrous for Ghana. Not only the water, but also our food.
Indeed, and now we hear of leaching getting into. After all, there are tubers, and these plants, all of them have roots, and
Yes.
some pick up these trace elements much more than others. So we might end up consuming. I mean, there are reports that suggest that our yam and cassava and even our cocoa, a major cash crop, could be affected. But delving further into health, you write a lot when it comes to health and wellness.
Yes.
You have a column.
I used to, yes.
You used to have that. Why were you so passionate about health and wellness? Was it a natural spin-off from your medical practice?
I mentioned the way of destiny, whereby those who are going to help me in the future are already planted there. And I mentioned the name of the man in Glasgow, Nani Hodanu. There's this gentleman, Phyllis Koneta Hulu. He was the one known in sickle cell anemia, sickle cell conditions, established great medical man, now based in London. It was he who introduced me as a columnist to Ghanaian Times. You understand that? So that was so I was introduced by Felix. He led me by the hand and told them he will do the job for you. And I said, well, thank you very much. Ghanaian Times, and then the Ghana Broadcast Corporation. It went on like that. That's how it happened. But somebody else did it. And also, did I mention to you that during the interview, I had promised Dr. Akwe that I would like to practice medicine for the health of the public. And let's say public health of the public. Before I went to Glasgow, when the sixth form chap, so I came to supply whatever I can to be a part of the process of advising the health of the public, including just in vaccinations and so on, but also the whole school of wellness. That's how it all began.
I mean, it's but well, I guess things will get better at some point.
Well,
hopefully. They will not just get better, we must make them better, but we can also not give up on hope, can we?
No, we should not give up. We should not give up. But the sad thing is that we should not give up. But let's keep in mind that the welfare of the poor and the underprivileged is really the responsibility of those who are better off. Have passion, have compassion, and help them.
I always go back to that quote by Thomas Sankara. He says, we can either have a society where a few get to enjoy champagne, or a society where the masses get potable drinking water. We must choose. It's either champagne, luxurious drink for a few, or potable water for all.
Well,
And
how prophetic that statement is. Even our drinking water is becoming poisoned now.
Right.
It's really frightening.
It is.
It's frightening.
Stark. But let's talk about being intellectual, intellectualism, if you like. Because while today we are producing many more graduates from the university, when I interact with some people of your caliber, the suggestion is that we have more now off a fan belt, but the quality is much lower. And if you listen to interactions on TV, on radio, in different places, it would appear there are a lot of learned graduates who like to argue or make points that are factless. How do you see it from where you sit?
I hear these statements being made, but I'm yet to receive evidence scientifically valid evidence that this has happened. So that if we can actually measure it, then we can try to correct it. I'm also aware that the social media are making it very easy to say things and to spread out the information. I'm also aware that fake news or false ideas are being spread out there very easily and very rapidly. That is a trade and it's ongoing. So to what extent we're able to measure, quantify that would be very helpful. But would you ever going to get better? Like Galam say, AI is also here with a vengeance.
Artificial intelligence.
It's either here with a vengeance. We have to be careful about that one also.
I see. As we get ready to draw the conclusions on this conversation, I have these two books here. One with 1980 on it, a diary of sorts, Warner Lambert, Medical Diary, 1980. And then this one, Appointments, 1977, Cow and Gate, with the compliments of Cow and Gate. I'd just like you to take these two books and maybe from this point in the Warner Lambert Medical Diary, A Question of Identity, what did you write in here?
A question of identity. What am I? Who am I? And why am I here? Is there any difference between me, in quotation marks, the mountains, the oceans, and beasts? If one shakes off one's shirt or boat, it means that one is different from one's shirt and one's boat. And it goes on like that. But please, let me not go into that for a moment. That was flowing and flowing and flowing.
I've brought back memories, huh?
Well, yes, until it ended with this prayer home. And then there's another one here. The future is just as unalterable as the past. Oh dear. The present is eternity and not a fleeting mistake. All time is the continuum. It goes on like that. The interaction.
I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge of, records, your diary, special moments encapsulated in this wonderful book.
Well, there are many of them.
So many of them.
I mean, there are many of those. The other books are there.
I
The
know,
other diaries
I know
are
there
there.
are so many of them.
This one, the thing about this one is that the first one to be given to my guru. Am I right to say that? Maybe it is, or probably not the first one. So, there's some of them come in, as you can see, in poetry mode, and others come in prose mode, and so on. There they are.
I see the first one there is dated November, 26, 1977. And the interesting bit for me is that is before I became a human being. So even before I was, here you were, jotting down all of these. Prof, as we cap off this conversation, there are two things I'd like to leave you with. One, what would you like to be remembered by?
God.
It's a simple but loaded question. And when you contemplate Ghana today, and you contemplate the Ghana that we aspire to at independence, what do you think we can do to get there? How would you like to be remembered, and how does Ghana, as we say, how do we become the Ghana we all dream of?
Oh, when such questions are asked, I said it's not for me to say how would I like to be remembered. What I would like to say is that if anything, if I've done anything, I've written anything, I've helped anybody, be it in Ghana, be it in Britain, Glasgow, be it in Zambia, they say remember me from there, or in Saudi Arabia. If people can remember, it's up to them to choose what they want to remember. Then whatever I'm able to leave behind in terms of books and so on, if they are of any use to anybody, that's also good.
Modest as always.
It's not for me to say. The other thing is the current situation. I'm afraid, human beings, we have changed. Things are not what they used to be. And whether they are ever, we said this already, we shall wait and pray that the future will be better than the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for granting me the privilege of sitting at your feet and learning one more time.
It's all by the grace of God.
And this has been another engagement. I say another because it's not the first time I've interacted with my father figure, Professor Ladé Wosornu. He's a man of many things. I mean, we've just scratched the surface of his life. What we've done in this hour is just a drop in a bucket. But he's a man of great wealth, spiritually, physically, mentally, and he shared his experience with us. Maybe pearls that we can keep, nuggets we can store for the future. He's a poet, he's an essayist, he's a retired surgeon. He used to write in the Ghanaian Times. He had a column on health and wellness. He, of course, is a fellow of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, and he is a founding fellow of the Ghana College of Surgeons and formerly a member of the National Council for Higher Education. It's been a true honor to, like I said, come to his shrine and sit at his feet and learn today. Hopefully, you've also learned a thing or two. My name is Benjamin Akakpo, delivering this installment of The Sages, courtesy Professor Ladé Wosornu. Once more, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.